I never thought I would be pushed out of the family business I helped build from near bankruptcy to success. For 10 years, I poured my heart, soul, and youth into my father Frank's construction company. Every project completed, every client satisfied, every late night working on blueprints was driven by his promise. Someday, all this will be yours, Leo. That promise shattered at our company anniversary party when I discovered he had secretly rewritten his will, leaving everything to my stepbrother, who had barely worked 2 years. Before I share how I turned this betrayal into my greatest victory, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever felt undervalued by someone you trusted. Growing up, I watched my father, Frank, build our construction business from nothing but a pickup truck and a toolbox. As a kid, I would visit job sites after school, amazed at how he transformed empty lots into beautiful homes. His calloused hands and tired eyes never deterred his passion. "This is how a man provides for his family," he would tell me, while showing me how to hammer a nail properly or read a blueprint. Those moments shaped my admiration for him and planted the seeds for my future in construction. Everything changed when I turned 16. My mother was diagnosed with aggressive lung cancer despite never smoking a day in her life. The medical bills piled up as quickly as her health declined. Dad spent every moment either working or at her hospital bedside. I still remember the night she passed away. The vacant look in my father's eyes told me something inside him had broken permanently. For months afterward, he moved through life like a ghost, barely speaking, working mechanically, coming home to stare at the empty side of their bed. I stepped up to fill the void at home. While finishing high school, I cooked meals, did laundry, maintained the house, and made sure bills were paid on time. The business began suffering without his full attention. Clients complained about missed deadlines and shoddy workmanship from unsupervised crews. Every night, I would hear him at the kitchen table, calculator in hand, muttering about loans and payroll. My senior year, I received a scholarship to study engineering at State University. The acceptance letter sat on my desk for weeks as I watched my father struggle. The night before I needed to submit my decision, Dad came home early for the first time in months. "I landed the Westridge renovation," he said, with a weak smile. "But Jim and Carlos quit today. I cannot blame them. I have not been much of a boss lately." That moment solidified my decision. The next morning, I declined the scholarship and told my father I wanted to work full-time in the family business. "Are you sure, Leo?" he asked, genuine concern in his tired eyes. "Construction is a hard life." "I am sure," I replied. "We can build it back together." The relief on his face confirmed I had made the right choice. He clapped my shoulder and said words that would guide the next decade of my life. "Someday, all this will be yours, son." My introduction to the family business was not glamorous. Dad insisted I learn every aspect from the ground up. My first 6 months involved hauling lumber, mixing concrete, and cleaning up job sites. The veteran workers tested me relentlessly, giving me the dirtiest jobs and watching for complaints. I never gave them the satisfaction. Instead, I arrived earlier and stayed later than anyone else, including my father. By my 20th birthday, I had earned the respect of every worker. They saw I was not just the boss's son, but someone who genuinely cared about the craft and the company. Dad promoted me to assistant foreman, where I began learning the supervision side of the business. During this time, our company slowly recovered. We paid off the most pressing debts and began rebuilding our reputation in the community. I noticed outdated systems eating into our profits. Every evening after physical labor, I taught myself accounting and digital systems. I created spreadsheets to track inventory, implemented proper scheduling software, and digitized all our paperwork processes. When I showed Dad how much time and money we were saving, his eyes brightened with pride for the first time since Mom died. By 23, I had become indispensable to the operation. Together, we landed our first major commercial contract, renovating the downtown shopping center. That project required everything I had. I slept in my truck several nights to ensure early material deliveries. I negotiated with subcontractors, managed client expectations, and still performed physical work alongside our crews when needed. The successful completion put us back on the map as a serious contractor in town. Our workforce grew from 5 to 15 employees. Revenue tripled. Dad even managed to pay off the mortgage on our family home. For the first time in years, he seemed happy again. We developed a true partnership where he handled client relations and I managed operations. The future looked promising as we discussed expansion plans and potential new service lines. "You saved this company," Leo, Dad, told me on my 25th birthday. "Your mother would have been so proud of the man you have become." Those words meant everything to me. But the harmony we had established was about to face its first serious challenge. Everything started changing the night of the Thompson project completion party. Dad went alone to handle the client relations, while I finished another job across town. When he returned, there was a lightness to his step I had not seen in years. "I met someone tonight," he announced almost shyly. "Her name is Patricia." She was at the party representing her interior design firm. I was genuinely happy for him. After 8 years of grieving Mom, he deserved companionship. When he asked if I minded him dating again, I encouraged it wholeheartedly. Little did I know, this would begin the unraveling of everything we had built. Patricia entered our lives like a whirlwind. She was attractive, charming, and 15 years younger than my father. Their relationship progressed rapidly, with Dad spending evenings and weekends with her instead of catching up on work as he previously did. This left more responsibility on my shoulders, but I accepted it gladly, believing his happiness would benefit us all in the long run. The first time Patricia visited the office, she assessed everything with a critical eye. "Frank, darling, this place needs a complete makeover," she declared, ignoring the fact I had just renovated our workspace the previous year. Her gaze slid over me as if I were just another employee rather than the co-builder of the business. When Patricia introduced her son Travis to the family dinner, 3 months into their relationship, alarm bells rang faintly in my mind. Travis was 26, unemployed, after exploring his options and living in Patricia's condo. Throughout dinner, he directed all conversation toward Dad, asking pointed questions about the business while barely acknowledging my role. Patricia beamed proudly at every word he spoke. 4 months after meeting, Dad announced they were getting married. The ceremony was small but lavish, with Patricia sparing no expense on the reception. That night, she moved into our family home, the house where I grew up, with Mom's touches still present in every room. Though I had my own apartment near our main worksite, watching someone else claim Mom's space stung unexpectedly. "Leo, Patricia thinks Travis might benefit from joining the business," Dad mentioned casually one Monday morning. "He has a business degree and could use some real-world experience." Despite my reservations, I nodded. "What position did you have in mind?" "We thought he could shadow you for a while, learn the ropes from the best." Dad replied with a wink that did nothing to ease my discomfort. Travis started the following week with a salary higher than employees who had been with us for years. I tried to train him properly, showing him our systems, introducing him to clients, and explaining our workflow. His interest seemed sporadic at best. He constantly checked his phone during important explanations and arrived late to job sites. When clients were present, however, he transformed into the model employee, charming them with stories and promises I knew we would struggle to fulfill. Meanwhile, Dad began missing important meetings for lunches with Patricia or to attend social events she deemed important for networking. The burden of covering these absences fell to me. 70-hour work weeks became my norm as I juggled my responsibilities alongside his. My apartment became little more than a place to shower and occasionally sleep between marathon workdays. 6 months after the wedding, Dad and Patricia took a 3-week European vacation, leaving me to handle a major project launch and payroll issues. When I called with an urgent question about permit requirements, Patricia answered his phone. "Frank cannot be disturbed right now," she said smoothly. "Surely you can handle these little problems on your own, Leo. That is what Frank pays you for after all." Her words hit like a physical blow. Pays me. I had not drawn a full salary in over 2 years, instead reinvesting most of my earnings back into the company for equipment upgrades and expansion. Dad and I had always viewed my contribution as investment in my future inheritance, not employment. When they returned, tanned and relaxed, the distance between Dad and me had grown. Patricia began attending all business meetings, offering opinions despite having no construction experience. Whenever I presented ideas for improvement, she would find reasons to delay or modify them beyond recognition. Dad, seemingly blind to the dynamic, nodded along with her suggestions. The situation worsened when Travis received a promotion to project manager after just 10 months with the company. He immediately requested a company truck and expense account, both of which Dad approved, without consulting me. Meanwhile, I continued driving my 8-year-old pickup with over 200,000 miles on the odometer, when Travis mismanaged the Riverside project, causing us to incur penalty fees for late completion. I expected Dad to hold him accountable. Instead, he defended him. "Everyone makes mistakes when learning, Leo. Remember that roofing disaster? Your first year, we need to give him time to grow into the role." The comparison stung because my mistake had happened when I was 19 and still learning basic construction, not after being handed a management position. More troubling, I overheard Patricia consoling Dad. Afterward, Leo seems jealous of Travis's quick success. Perhaps he feels threatened by someone with formal education. My personal life withered under the weight of my professional burdens. Sophia, my girlfriend, of 2 years, finally reached her breaking point after I missed our anniversary dinner because Travis had approved incorrect materials that needed emergency replacement. "I cannot compete with that business, Leo," she said tearfully, as she returned my key. "You already have a marriage to your job. My closest friend, Mark, got married that summer, but I missed the wedding handling an emergency at a job site Travis had neglected to properly supervise." My health began suffering next. Chronic back pain from years of physical labor went untreated. Stress-induced insomnia left me functioning on 3 to 4 hours of sleep most nights. A persistent cough from job site dust never seemed to clear. Yet I pushed forward, believing my sacrifices were building my future. The company's 25th anniversary party should have been a celebration of perseverance and growth. I spent weeks organizing everything from the venue to the commemorative gifts for long-term clients. The night of the event, Dad stood to give his speech, champagne glass raised high. "When I started this company, I never imagined we would reach such heights." He began, emotion thick in his voice. "The past few years especially have shown tremendous growth, and much of that is thanks to fresh perspectives and new energy." My chest swelled, expecting acknowledgement of my decade of sacrifice. "I want to especially thank Travis for bringing his business acumen to our family company. His innovative approaches represent the future of this business." The room applauded while I sat frozen, my untouched champagne growing warm in my hand. Travis stood smiling broadly and accepting congratulations. Not once during the 15-minute speech did Dad mention my contributions specifically. As the party wound down, I stayed to oversee cleanup. While collecting forgotten jackets from Dad's office, I noticed a folder labeled "Wilson Construction Succession Plan" open on his desk. Legal curiosity compelled me to glance at the document. My blood turned to ice as I read the provisions upon Dad's retirement or death. Full ownership would transfer to Travis with a modest financial settlement to me, equivalent to roughly 2 years' salary. 10 years of sacrifices, innovations, and sweat equity reduced to nothing more than a long-term employee's severance package. The document was dated just 3 months ago, signed by Dad with Patricia as witness. The betrayal was complete. The weekend following the anniversary party passed in a blur of disbelief and rage. I alternated between overwhelming anger and numbing disbelief. How could he do this? After everything we had built together, after countless explicit promises that the company would be mine someday. Monday morning, I requested a private meeting with Dad. He seemed surprised by my serious tone, but agreed to meet after lunch. I spent those intervening hours rehearsing what I would say, trying to find words that would convey my hurt without sounding entitled. When I finally sat across from him in his office, the familiar surroundings suddenly felt foreign. Photos of Patricia and Travis had replaced some of the construction achievements that once lined the walls. Even the space itself seemed to reject my presence. "I saw the succession plan on your desk Friday night," I stated. Deciding directness was the only approach I could manage without breaking down. Dad's expression shifted from confusion to anger to resignation in the span of seconds. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled before him, in a gesture that reminded me painfully of my childhood when he would prepare to deliver important life lessons. "You were going through my private papers," he asked, his tone making me the villain. "The folder was open on your desk while I was collecting things after the party," I clarified. "Why, Dad? 10 years I have given to this company. I turned down college, a future of my own, to save your business when it was failing." "We had an understanding." He sighed heavily. "Business arrangements change, Leo. Patricia helped me see that informal promises do not make sound succession planning." "Informal promises?" My voice cracked with disbelief. "You told me hundreds of times this company would be mine someday, and you have been well compensated for your work," he countered. "But Travis needs security more than you do. You have skills that would let you start over anywhere. Travis has Patricia to consider his future family." The implication that my future did not matter hung heavy between us. I noticed movement by the door and saw Patricia standing there, arms crossed, monitoring our conversation. Her presence explained much about Dad's suddenly formal tone. "And what about my decade of 70-hour weeks? The innovations that tripled our revenue, the client relationships I have built?" I pressed, fighting to keep my voice steady. "For which you were paid," Dad replied flatly. "Look, I'm not leaving you with nothing. The settlement is generous. Most people would be grateful for that kind of nest egg to start fresh." The word settlement cut deep. I was family being settled with not a partner receiving my due. In that moment, I realized my father no longer saw me as his son and heir, but as an employee whose services could be terminated with sufficient compensation. "What changed, Dad? When did I become just another worker to you?" I asked quietly. He glanced toward the door where Patricia lingered. "Nothing changed. I simply got proper legal advice about the best way to structure the company's future." The conversation continued in circles for another 20 minutes. Every point I raised about fairness, or our history together, was deflected with corporate jargon that sounded nothing like my father's usual way of speaking. By the end, it was clear nothing would change his mind. As I rose to leave, Travis appeared beside Patricia, his expression a mask of fake sympathy. "No hard feelings, right, Leo? We can still work together great as a team." The patronizing tone was the final straw. I walked past them without a word, collected my jacket, and drove aimlessly for hours. Eventually, I found myself at the cemetery where Mom was buried. I had not visited in years, always too busy working to make time for grief. Kneeling at her headstone, I finally broke down. 10 years of suppressed emotions poured out as I told her everything about the business, Dad's betrayal, my sacrificed youth. Through tears, I asked what she would advise me to do. The silent stone offered no answers, but somehow the act of speaking my pain aloud brought clarity. I had two choices: stay and fight for what was promised, becoming bitter and entangled in family conflict, or walk away and rebuild on my terms. For the first time in a decade, I allowed myself to imagine a life not tethered to Wilson Construction and my father's approval. The choice, once framed that way, was surprisingly clear. The decision to leave did not mean leaving carelessly. I had helped build this company, and despite everything, I would ensure a responsible transition. The next morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual and began organizing comprehensive documentation of all current projects, client contacts, and operational systems. My first strategic move was contacting Jordan Williams, a business attorney who had handled some contracts for us in the past. I explained my situation without emotional coloring, seeking pragmatic advice rather than sympathy. From what you have described, Leo verbal promises about inheritance rarely hold up legally, especially with a signed succession plan in place, Jordan explained during our lunch meeting. However, you have significant leverage regarding the proprietary systems you developed and the client relationships you cultivated. With Jordan's guidance, I documented every system process and innovation I had personally developed for the company. While I could not legally take these with me, the documentation would serve as evidence of my contributions should things turn adversarial later. Next, I spoke confidentially with Jack Reynolds, our most experienced foreman who had been with the company since before I joined. "Not surprised, Kid Jack," said gruffly when I shared my plans to leave. "The way the old man lets that woman and her son run things now. Several of us have been updating our resumes." This conversation revealed something critical. I was not alone in my concerns about the company's direction. Many long-term employees had noticed the preferential treatment and declining standards since Travis joined the team. Over the next week, I carefully backed up all my work, ensuring the company retained copies of everything while preparing my exit. I scheduled meetings with our 3 largest clients, ostensibly for project updates, but actually to gauge their satisfaction with the current management. Martin Reeves, from Reeves Development, was blunt during our coffee meeting. "Honestly, Leo, we only stay with Wilson because of you. That Travis fellow missed 2 important meetings last month, and your father seems distracted lately." Should I be concerned? I maintained professionalism, neither betraying my father nor lying to a valued client. "The company is going through some structural changes. I would recommend documenting all expectations clearly in writing going forward." Martin studied me carefully before nodding. "Planning your exit, are you? Cannot say, I blame you. Let me know where you land." By the second week, my plan was solidified. I had consulted with the Small Business Development Center about startup requirements, secured a modest bank loan based on my personal savings and excellent credit history, and identified an affordable commercial space for rent on the east side of town. When everything was in place, I typed up my formal 2 weeks' notice and placed it on Dad's desk before he arrived. The letter was professional and gracious, thanking him for the opportunity to learn the business and expressing hope for the company's continued success. His reaction that afternoon was predictably dismissive. "You will be back within a month when you see how hard it is to start from scratch," he said, barely looking up from his computer. "The door will be open when you realize you have made a mistake." I spent my final 2 weeks methodically transitioning my responsibilities. I created detailed handover documents for each project-trained junior staff on maintenance procedures for the systems I had built and introduced key clients to their new points of contact. Throughout this process, Dad remained distant, while Patricia watched with poorly concealed satisfaction. Travis fluctuated between smug superiority and panic as he realized how much responsibility would soon fall to him. "You could stay on as a consultant," he suggested, the day before my departure. "We could work something out. I do not think that would be best for anyone," I replied evenly. "It is time for me to build something of my own." My last day was unceremonious. Dad was in meetings all day, though his truck remained in the parking lot. I left my keys and company phone on my desk, with a final note wishing the company well. Only Jack and a few long-term employees stopped by to wish me luck and exchange contact information. 3 weeks later, White Pine Construction officially opened for business. My commercial space was modest, but functional, with a small office area and warehouse storage. 5 former Wilson employees, including Jack, chose to join my new venture, bringing their expertise and work ethic with them. My first client was Martin Reeves, who called the day after hearing about my new company. That medical center project we discussed. It is yours if you want it. Smaller than what you are used to, but it could be a good starting point. Within 6 months, White Pine had established a reputation for reliability, quality, and transparent business practices. We focused on medium-sized commercial renovations, a niche that larger companies often overlooked and smaller contractors lacked the capacity to handle. Every project was completed on time and within budget with personal oversight that clients appreciated. Dad's prediction that I would come crawling back proved dramatically wrong. Instead, I received word through industry channels that Wilson Construction was struggling. Travis had mismanaged several major projects, resulting in costly overruns and penalty clauses being triggered. 2 longtime clients had taken their business elsewhere after quality issues. Jack's former crew members reported that Patricia had pressured Dad to cut corners on materials to maintain profit margins. 1 year after my departure from Wilson Construction, the Regional Chamber of Commerce hosted their annual Business Excellence Awards. White Pine Construction was nominated in the Small Business Innovation category for our sustainable building practices and digital project management system. I attended the ceremony with my team, expecting nothing but appreciating the recognition. When they announced White Pine as the winner, the applause was gratifying. As I approached the podium to accept the award, I noticed 3 figures at a back table: Dad, Patricia, and Travis. Dad's expression was unreadable. Patricia looked sour, and Travis was busy on his phone. The following week brought news that our bid for the city library renovation had been successful, winning over 5 competitors, including Wilson Construction. This municipal contract represented exactly the type of prestigious, stable project that would cement our reputation in the community. Beyond professional success, my personal life had finally found balance. I reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during my workaholic years. Sophia and I occasionally met for coffee now, as friends who recognized our timing had been wrong. I started mentoring young contractors through the trade school program, finding unexpected fulfillment in sharing knowledge. Most importantly, I established a company culture that valued family time and personal well-being. No employee worked weekends unless absolutely necessary, and everyone took their vacation time without guilt. My own health improved dramatically as regular sleep and reduced stress allowed my body to recover from years of neglect. 6 months later, I unexpectedly encountered Dad at an industry conference in Chicago. We spotted each other across the hotel lobby, both momentarily frozen in recognition. After a moment's hesitation, I approached his table, where he sat alone reviewing the conference schedule. "Hello, Dad," I said, extending my hand professionally. "Good to see you here." He looked older, the lines around his eyes deeper than when I had left. "Leo," he nodded, shaking my hand briefly. "Your company seems to be doing well. Congratulations on the library contract." "Thank you." "How are things at Wilson Construction?" I asked politely. He hesitated, pride battling with reality. "We have had some challenges. The economy, you know. And finding good people is harder than ever." We chatted awkwardly for several minutes about neutral topics. As I prepared to excuse myself to attend a session, he cleared his throat. "Have you ever considered the possibility of joining forces again?" "Not immediately, of course, but perhaps down the road. 2 companies under shared family ownership could be advantageous." The question revealed so much. Wilson was struggling more seriously than industry rumors suggested. Travis had likely proven inadequate to the responsibilities thrust upon him. Dad was seeking an escape route that would save face. "I think we are both on paths that work best separately," I replied gently. "But I wish you success, Dad. I truly do." As I walked away, I felt no anger or resentment, just a quiet certainty that I was exactly where I needed to be. The pain of betrayal had transformed into the foundation for something better than I could have inherited. The journey taught me that true value comes not from what is given to us, but what we build ourselves. The skills I learned working for my father's company became the tools I used to create something authentic to my own vision. Even the betrayal served a purpose, forcing me to discover my capabilities independent of family obligation. I sometimes drive past Wilson construction jobs and notice the quality declining crews looking disorganized equipment, poorly maintained. There is no satisfaction in seeing this, only recognition that businesses reflect their leadership. I built White Pine on principles of integrity, quality, and respect for every worker's contribution, creating the company culture I always wished we had. So, what would you do if someone close betrayed your trust after years of dedication? Would you fight to reclaim what was promised, or build something new on your own terms? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of overcoming life's unexpected challenges. Remember that sometimes the greatest disappointments lead to your true path forward. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you strength to turn your own setbacks into stepping stones.